Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. Monthly Report. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers McSwine.
We want to welcome everyone back to the National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana Monthly Report. We are here at WHMB 40, and I'm your host, Lee Martin, and we have our co-host, Ms. Florence Myers McSwine. How are you doing today, Florence?
I am well.
Okay, so it's been a very busy period for us at NFB Newsline, and Newsline is an audible information service offered to the blind, visually impaired, and print-challenged citizens of the state of Indiana. It's a service that's offered throughout the country. It's all in basically all 48 states right now. And you can access it. It's a free service that can be accessed by using your landline phone, your iPhones, your iPads, your iPods, almost anything Apple, huh? And then, we also have other devices, with the digital talking player from the Talking Book and Braille Library, which is our sponsor for the state of Indiana Newsline. So if you want to learn more about services with the Talking Book and Braille Library, you can contact them at the Indiana State Library. That's the Talking Book and Braille Library services. They have a lot of good services to offer. And they also have what they call a digital player there. They can also access NFB Newsline on as well. And we also have another great device that I love using, and it's called the Victor Stream from HumanWare. That's also a great device that we use in the community, the blind, visually impaired community. That's a great tool in our toolbox. Florence, you want to tell a little bit about, what the magazines and things are about at Newsline?
I sure can. I personally prefer magazines. I read the newspapers as well, but I'm a great lover of reading magazines. There's over 60 magazines, starting with AARP for those of us who are seniors. And there's magazines on health, such as Preventive Magazine, WebMD. And they're for people who are health conscious. There are magazines for them. So there's a magazine for everyone, of every lifestyle.
Yeah, I just happened to be at the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and young lady was asking me about Glamour, and we happen to have the Glamour magazine. So I decided to start listening to the Glamour magazine just as a fellow, and I was astonished. I really had to turn it off because it's too much for a guy to really know. But it is a lot of information that we didn't have access to as a population of blind and visually impaired and print-challenged citizens until this service come about, where it's so easy to use and following the prompts. And you'll learn more about that. We also have over 400 newspaper publications, and throughout the state of Indiana, we have over 15 publications from the Associated Press to most of our major cities throughout the state of Indiana. We also have the Indiana Business Journal, which is very great. Indianapolis Monthly, I tell you, that is a great publication as well, because you can find out a lot of information about what's in the city, what restaurants are popping up, about foods and health. There's just a lot of stuff in there that you would learn about our local city here, as well as the Indianapolis Recorder is on there now. It's a publication that's been around for over 100 years. And, for the first time, individuals that are interested in reading the Indianapolis Recorder have access. And that's one of the greatest things about NFB Newsline. We want people to have access to information, because as citizens, we get out and vote, we live daily lives like any normal citizen would do. There's nothing abnormal about blindness, I would say. It's just the misperceptions of the condition, and we want to eliminate a lot of that. We have today here, Florence, you want to introduce our guest?
I certainly can. Right next to me is Connie Michaels from
Hello.
Bosma Enterprises, and Ms. Becky Dare, also from Bosma Enterprises.
Thank you. Hello.
And we'll be right back. We're going to take a short pause, and we'll be right back with these interesting guests that we have from Bosma Enterprises. And once again, we want to welcome you both to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
I am a blind vendor, and one of the things that I truly miss is reading Vending Times magazine.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
It is a fantastic service.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today. Welcome back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana Monthly Report. And as we left on break, we were introduced to our guest, Connie and Miss Becky Dare. And Florence, let's get the conversation going with Miss Connie.
I'd like to talk with you, Ms. Michaels. Well, I'll call you Connie.
That's fine.
Okay. And Connie, you're with Bosma Enterprises. And for those who aren't familiar with Bosma Enterprises, can you first tell us a little bit about Bosma Enterprises?
The Bosma Enterprises services as a whole has a mission to help people who are blind or visually impaired by trying to help them gain more independence through adaptive aids and training that helps them to enhance the independence in their lives.
Okay. Now, your position, however, at Bosma Enterprises, you're itinerant?
I am. It's called Itinerant Rehabilitation Teacher, IRT for short. And itinerant is just a fancy way of saying community-based. So I go to people's homes and work with them in their homes.
Awesome.
Generally, I have a grant that I serve that is for people that are ages 55 and older. And so I'll go to their homes and maybe demonstrate a magnifying glass or some large print items, recording items, or talking items like a talking clock or a talking watch. And through the demonstration of those items, our clients can decide if those are goals that they have, because we work towards their personal goals. And if they choose something as a goal, like to be able to read their mail a little bit better, we try to present them with some options on how they can do that. And if they like that option, they're able to keep it.
Great. Now, how do you get your clients, Connie?
Oh, well, we have referral sources. Sometimes people are self-referred. Oftentimes a family member will refer somebody, or even a doctor might refer somebody. So if a person is starting to experience some vision loss, and it's affecting them on a daily basis, I have to ask somebody what time it is. I can answer the phone, but I have a hard time dialing the telephone. Those kinds of things. I can no longer read my mail. That's a big one, you know. Then their family may seek out what's out there, what's available when glasses are no longer as helpful as they used to be. And so BOSMA is available to help fill that.
Great.
Yeah, one of the services that you do offer through the National Federation of the Blind is NFB Newsline. You want to talk a little bit about how that is conveyed to your clients, and how does that help with their independence?
Oh, it helps really greatly. We have a plan that we kind of roughly follow of possible goals. And within that plan, there's an audio section. And in the audio section, there's a talking book library, which is a huge part of what people miss. They miss reading books, and they miss reading the newspaper. And another part of the audio section is the NFB Newsline. So what I do is through demonstration, I'll get out my phone and I'll put Newsline on, and I'll say, check this out. You know, this is this great new service. Not a new service, but a great service that helps people to read newspapers and magazines in their area or in other areas. Like some people like to try to read their newspaper from the state they used to live in. So I'll show it to them, and a lot of times people are very interested in signing up for that service so that they can get the newspaper on their own.
So it is a new service to them.
It is a new service to them.
Yes.
Because I do know that when I lost my sight, how it impacted me as a reader of newspapers and magazines, just print in general, you know. And it was very enhancing to know that such a service is out there. And we highly recommend this service to individuals in the blind and visually impaired and print challenged community. It's also available to those with forms of dyslexia. And it's also expanded itself to those that are blind and deaf of hearing. So it has a lot of avenues that we can reach a lot of people with that particular service. And I know we appreciate what you do out there for BOSMA Enterprises and for our community. And Miss Becky Deer.
Yes.
My dear, tell me, what is your job title?
I am the Senior Manager of Itinerant Rehabilitation Teaching.
Okay, and what does that entail?
That entails overseeing the Itinerant Rehabilitation Teaching Department, providing supports to the teachers like Connie. We have 7 teachers right now, and we work with clients all over the state. So we cover all 92 counties. For clients that we would receive through vocational rehabilitation or as a pro bono. There are a lot of clients who don't qualify for the senior program yet and don't qualify for Voc Rehab, so we provide services to them as well. And then for the senior program, it's the older independent blind program that we receive a grant from the state. And this year we started a new contract where we are covering just about 45 of the counties and not overlapping with the other, I believe there are 5 other providers who are also receive funds through the older independent blind program.
Okay, so that's great that you don't overlap.
Right.
You know, and because we truly believe, as we discussed, working together works in our community.
Absolutely.
You know, coming together and figuring out ways to reach the 166,000 people that are coping with blindness throughout the state of Indiana.
Yes.
So we're going to pause for a minute and take us a short break, and we'll be right back on WHMB 40 here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we're going to talk more about BOSMA Enterprises and what great work that these individuals do for the community at large. So we'll see you right back here.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I am a CFP practitioner, and I happen to be blind. I rely on NFB Newsline to keep me current with Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
As I travel the nation, I read NFB Newsline.
I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I listen to my local news on NFB Newsline. As a student, I enjoy reading current events on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today. We want to welcome you back, and while we've been on break, we've had a great conversation, some great time. We would like to share some of that with the listening audience and viewing audience. I say listening audience because this is a show that that's designed for the blind and visually impaired and print challenged to find out what resources are out there for them to enhance their lives. And if you're a family member and you have an individual that is coping with vision loss, listen to the show, get the information on the screen. It's directing you to quite a few places, particularly with the National Federation of the Blind, our office that you can call for information. There's several numbers there. There's our affiliate number with the National Federation of the Blind, and there's also the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana number. So if you want to know more about our services, please contact us. There's also information running across the screen about Bosma Enterprises and our two great guests we have here today from Bosma Enterprises. So, Florence?
So Becky,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, now if I had a family member who's losing their sight and was interested in Bosma Enterprises and working with the itinerants, now who should I contact?
For the itinerant department, we have an intake specialist. Her name is Barbara Sanders. And Barbara takes all the initial phone calls for people calling in, either to refer somebody or to see if Bosma services are something that would be a good fit for them. And so Barbara would explain to them a little bit about the services depending on their age, because the grant that we have that provides the majority of the itinerant services is for seniors, so 55 and over.
Okay.
But Barbara would talk to anybody that calls in for information, and she can direct them to other services within Bosma if they don't qualify for that program, or even to other services out in the community, so that we always make sure that, if somebody calls in for services, that we have somewhere to direct them to.
Okay, and now with the intake services, can you tell me approximately how long it may take?
I would say probably about 15, 20 minutes. It
Okay.
depends. Once we determine, or Barbara determines that somebody is a good fit for the Bosma program, for the itinerant, she has a list of questions that she goes through. Because the service is provided through a grant, we have to gather quite a bit of demographic information. And so she does that over the phone with them, and then gets their contact information, and then they're put into our system and then referred out to a teacher that covers their local area.
Okay, thank you. And
Go ahead.
well, I had one other question.
Yes.
Now, along with that, now the intake takes, you said, approximately 15 to 20 minutes.
Yes.
Now, as far as getting into a particular program, do you have an approximate amount of time that may take?
If it's for the itinerant program, so if they're a senior and they qualify for the grant, we try to get them connected with the teacher within a week from the intake call.
Okay.
And try to get the first appointment, their first home visit with the teacher scheduled within 2 weeks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Now, is there a time limit for training a new client or getting is it based on, what is all that based on?
And it's really based on the client's individual needs. As Connie mentioned when she was talking about the plan that we do, the first visit when the teachers go out and meet with the client is to really determine their needs. And we have a teaching plan that covers several different areas, but we don't have a set curriculum. We are talking to the client about what their challenges are, what they want to focus on, and we set goals in the teaching plan based on that.
I will say that if a person is living in their own home, then we may travel to their home a few more times because they may have a few more goals to be living independently in their home. And then if a person is living in an assisted living type of a situation, they still qualify for services, and we're happy to go and meet with them, and they may have a little bit more support in those situations. They may have some staff member that provides medicine, or or they may go to the dining service. So they may not have as many goals, but they still may have a lot of good goals, like signing up for the Newsline, or talking book service, or providing some kind of a magnification device so that they could read the agenda for what is happening in their apartment for the week. So there's still a lot of things that we can do, but generally speaking, maybe go to a client's home 5, 6, 7 times.
And we definitely don't have a limit on that. As long as there are still things that the client is learning, and we can still provide assistance to them in that, we will continue working with them.
Yes.
That's good to hear. That's good to know.
So a number of your clients, would you say they are coping with macular degeneration or diabetes, or what other complications do you say you generally run into?
For the senior population,
population.
definitely mostly macular degeneration, but then also diabetes and glaucoma.
And sometimes it's multiple things, macular degeneration plus cataracts plus glaucoma. So sometimes, or even with hearing loss as well. So we would make sure that we would know all the different kinds of things that they were dealing with to try to help out with any one of those things. But I would say macular degeneration in our senior grant is a big number.
Yes.
Because this is a very, important phase of an individual's life as a senior, as we grow older. And do you run into much depression out there with individuals that just, can't deal with the blindness as a senior? Because it's difficult enough dealing with it not being a senior.
Right, we definitely do. A lot of depression and anxiety. It's difficult to have, if clients aren't able to drive anymore or really get out in their community, they feel very isolated. And then just, losing independence, losing their freedom, it makes it difficult to function on a daily basis. And a lot of the clients that we, first meet with are afraid that they're going to have to move into a more restrictive living situation because they can't, do independent daily living tasks on their own.
Okay, now what are your greatest challenges working with seniors?
I think that's definitely one of them. We don't currently have any funding where we can provide actual adjustment counseling, but the teachers all have such great experience and are really able to provide some peer counseling. And then we have a program that's also funded by the grant that's called Connections. And that's a telephone call-in program.
Great.
And there are several sections each week that the individuals can call in and do things like they play crossword puzzles over the phone, do trivia, they have a book club. And so they're able to get that socialization that's, that they really miss. And the low vision support group too that we have over the phone with the Connections program really helps educate them on their condition and on how they can talk to family members about it, because that's a big part of it for some of them.
It's a big part of it all.
Not the family members not really understanding what they can do, what they can't do, and not understanding that what they're really going through a grieving process as losing their vision.
Well, it is, I mean, this is a serious issue, a serious topic. And we just want to thank you guys for coming on to the show. And we're going to take us a short break. And remember that this, these are very serious issues dealing with our seniors, because you, as the older folks used to say, keep on living.
Keep on living.
And, there go I in the same position. So we'll be right back here on WHMB 40, and see you shortly.
With my failing eyesight, I'm not able to read regular newspapers, and I'm not able to keep up with obituaries.
I've been a homemaker all of my life, but since my vision has failed, I wish I could read my favorite magazines.
Have you heard of the NFB Newsline?
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
Yes, and welcome you back. And, we just want to get a final thought, on just what we've been talking about here and how important it is. So, Connie, could you give us a final thought on your clients once again?
Well, we were speaking about depression, which is something that happens, but I was saying during the break that I can tell the difference between that first visit when people are anxious and they are reaching out for help and answers, and the last visit where people feel empowered to do more, and they feel like they have a lot of more independence. So I do think that you see that depression lifted a little bit, because I think it becomes a training situation where there's a teacher talking about techniques and adaptive devices that can be helpful to make a difference in your life. And you see that person start to believe it. And then they become more independent, and you can see that happiness come back.
Well, then seeing that happiness come back, we are really thankful that you guys are out into the field making things happen.
Thank you.
So
It's a great job.
Thank you for coming on to the show. We'll be looking for better and greater things from you guys all along with Bosma Enterprises and with the National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana Monthly Report. Join us next week, and we'll see you soon. Take good care of yourselves.
The National Federation of the Blind, Indiana Monthly Report. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 317-205-9226. That's 317-205-9226. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.